Hello once again, race fans. Welcome back to our weekly episode of the NASCAR show on The Growing Truth. I'm Alex Gray, along here with Steve Risley. We will have Michael Klein joining us later. We got some interesting things to talk about. Obviously, we got Dover and talk about who won that race. We got some Gen 7, or I should say next-gen car news, some pretty big news, as well as a few other things. So let's go ahead and dive into Dover. The Monster Mile celebrating its 50th anniversary. And finally, after a 75-race winless streak for the first time since September of 2017, Kyle Larson gets it done at Dover. He gets the win, had a very strong car all race long. And finally, that Chip Ganassi team able to prevail. And this could potentially be the kind of spark that Larson needs to perhaps pole vault him into Homestead, because he's kind of been quiet, he's kind of been there, but finally, when you get that win, especially this late in the season for playoffs, that could be a huge deal. Also looking at the rest of the top 10, as this was a race where a lot of playoff drivers had problems. Martin Truex Jr. was second, Alex Bowman picking up the third-place finish. That's a lot of points for him. Kevin Harvick was fourth, Denny Hamlin fifth, Kyle Busch sixth, Matt DiBenedetto in seventh. Great run for that 95 team. Jimmy Johnson trying to build some momentum for 2020. He finishes in eighth. Kurt Busch is ninth. Clint Boyer 10th. Looking at the other playoff drivers, Brad Keselowski 11th. William Byron was 13th after coming back from a speeding penalty. Let's see here.
Wait. Can I say one thing?
Yes.
Chase Elliott was dead-ass last, wasn't he?
Yeah, Chase Elliott had a mechanical issue like 9 laps in, which is and Logano was 34th.
Logano recovered though and got back on the track, didn't he?
He did get back on the track about lap 23 because he actually had to go behind the wall before the green flag dropped, and he came back out 23 laps down. He was able to finish. Ryan Blaney had to go behind the wall of the DNF. Quite a few Chase drivers had some issues here.
Yeah, well, and I mean this track, it's one of the few concrete tracks they race on, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct on that?
That is correct.
They mostly run on asphalt tracks, and now they're running on a concrete. It's a lot of wear and tear on a car. And my question to you to start off with, and we'll wait. Hopefully, if our esteemed ARCA driver, NASCAR driver, comes on, Michael, and can give some insight into it. Mm-hmm. It seems to put a different pounding on these cars. And is it wise to have impound races on tracks when you don't run on these tracks year-round? I mean, I can understand if it's an asphalt track and you're doing it there, but when you're doing it on like a concrete track, which is, and it's called the Monster Mile for a reason. I mean, it beats the crap out of your equipment.
It really does.
In qualifying, and then you have to park the car after you qualify and sit it, and you don't get a chance to look at it and say, okay, what have we broken? What have we stressed? What have we done wrong? I mean, and you're in a playoff situation. Is this a smart move, on your opinion?
I think it's
not that Bill Helton's listening or Mike Helton's listening to me right now. I'm sure he's not. Yeah, I wish he was.
Well, I mean, I think the tough part with an impound race is to explain what an impound race is. First off, it's basically where after qualifying, teams are not allowed to touch their cars. It is that way until it's race time, and that can be an issue. Especially if you qualify the day before the race. Now, if you were to qualify, say, at like noon and drop the green flag at 6:30, 7:30 later that day, then, yeah, I would totally get it. But if you were to impound on the time where if you qualify one day and race the next, I think that's where an issue could come in play. And when you're at a track like Dover, you saw quite a few playoff guys have certain mechanical issues. You saw Blaney have issues. You saw Elliott have issues 9 laps in. Joey Logano didn't even take the green flag. He had to go behind the wall and come back out later. So
and his axle was laying in the middle of the pit road.
Yeah. So I can see where your argument is, and I think you make some interesting points. Of course, NASCAR makes the calls on that, so I do think it's rather tough. All I could say to that is it's rather tough when you have to qualify and then race 24 hours later and you can't even touch your car and make those last-minute adjustments. Of course, there is inspections and how technical the cars are, where, if you fail pre-race inspection like 2, 3, 4 times, your car gets ejected, you have to start back, or your qualifying time isn't allowed. So it can be tricky. So maybe that's a reason why that, they impound certain races is because of that, to maybe perhaps avoid.
And you and I talked off air. I tweeted back and forth for just a few times, and he's not a friend of mine, and Bob Pockras. And, I just sent him a text, a tweet. He fired back, and I asked, and he said this is all done to save money. But really, at this level of racing, at this time of the year, is money the big issue here in these things? I mean, because basically, you've got Penske, you've got JGR, you got SHR, you got Hendrick, you've got the 17 car, Dale Earnhardt's old team. Well, I can't think of the name of it right now. What is it? Childress. You got RCR, mm-hmm. And and basically, and you've got guys like Matt DiBenedetto, who's a great driver, who's moving on to another team. Is money the issue here, or do you just want to see the best racing, and you want these cars in tip-top shape when they head out on the track to go? For me, I've made no bones about it. I'm a 9-car fan. So as soon as Elliott went out, I'm like, okay, I'll go watch Red Zone. He's not getting back on the track. His engine just blowed up. And I watched the race. I watched the race and everything like that. But it's like, I just don't get the concept of the impound racing mentality, especially in the playoffs. I can see it throughout the season somewhat if you want to save some money, but I don't understand the concept of, because like I said, we had the Viagra car for 5 years with Mark Martin and Rouse Racing. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to the Brickyard one morning at 6:30 a.m. because I had some sponsorship responsibilities to do on behalf of the team and things like that, and on behalf of Pfizer. And that car that morning was in 2,000 pieces. The whole car was laid out on the garage floor in the pits in Indianapolis, or in the garage in Indianapolis. They had every gear, everything stripped apart, greasing it down, oiling it down, checking for stress, checking for everything. I'm like, oh my God, are you guys going to get this thing built back up, ready to go? Oh yeah, we'll do this. We'll do this in an hour. This will take us about an hour to do this.
Yeah.
And so and then of course, I have hot passes, so we go out on the track, and my wife and I both have hot passes, and we're sitting in the pits, which is really a stupid place for spectators to watch the race from, because you have no business being in there to begin with. But we were there because we had hot passes. Mm-hmm. And Martin wrecks the car on lap number 3 at the Brickyard. And they come in, and you watch this car meticulously being built and unbuilt and rebuilt, and then 5 laps later, they've got sledgehammers beating the crap out of it, trying to get something that they could put back on the track. And then they changed tires, and the stupidest thing I did was they changed 4 tires, and I went over back in the back of the pits and leaned on the tires. Let me tell you what happens to those tires. They get hot.
They really do.
They get hot real fast, and I burnt my arm. I'm like, oh my geez, I had a burn mark on my arm. It was like I'm 6'8", so they had 4 tires stacked up there. They had just taken off, and they stacked them back there. and I leaned on him, and it's like, oh man! But I just think at this point, much like what F1 does, which is probably the most expensive form of racing there is in the world, is F1. The money that Mercedes and Ferrari and Renault and everybody throws into it, and the money they pay their drivers, which is astronomical. I don't understand why NASCAR thinks they need to do impound races in the playoffs. I get it in the regular season to save some money for the lower echelon teams, but in the playoffs, it's all down to the top 10 or 12 teams. So,
okay,
that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from with that. It's just difficult, You just never know what will happen, especially with these impound races, which of course, that's probably what led to some of these guys having issues.
And it's not even that, Alex. It's like you come into an impound race now at Dover, and then you turn around and where are we going next weekend?
Talladega.
I mean, I'll be at the edge of my seat the entire day. I mean, I won't be moving them. I'll hold my pee until the race is over. Because where are we going next weekend? We're going to Talladega.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so you're not going to want to miss a lap of that. And now you go from an impound race where you essentially take Logano and Elliott, who are championship contenders, and neither one of them are out of the hunt. I mean, Logano's he's in ninth at 0 points down, and Chase is only 7 points down, so both of them can recover real easily. Chase won the earlier race in Talladega this year, so I mean, neither one of them are out of it. But it's just now you're going to Talladega, which is the most improbable race that you can predict every year, probably even more so than Daytona, because Talladega is just a bigger, wider track. You get 4 or 5 cars wide, on a 2.6 mile track. And it just seems I don't get the concept of having an impound race and then going to Talladega. The handicapping to me at this level should not be there. It's just let the players play. Let them go after it. Have at it, gentlemen. Rubbing is racing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but great win for Kyle Larson. I mean, he drove. He was solid all weekend. He drove a great race, and he's still got Martin Truex in there, who I think finishes second, doesn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, he finishes second, and you've got everybody involved. It's shaping up, and yeah, I don't like the handicapping. I'm just not a fan of the handicapping in the playoffs. At that point, you just let them go. Let them go get it.
Yeah, that's understandable. Also, following the Xfinity Series, Cole Custer got the win at Dover, with Justin Allgaier finishing second. Once again, just coming up short of a win. Austin Cindric third, Justin Haley fourth, Chase Briscoe, Michael Annett, Noah Gragson, John Nemechek, Zane Smith, Ryan Seat, rounding out the top 10. And for the Truck Series, the next race is also Talladega. They will run at Talladega with the Cup Series. So I believe that's the second race of round of 6. So let me check here.
And where is Xfinity running this weekend?
Xfinity is actually off. They will race next.
They're off. They don't race. Okay, they don't race. Wow.
Yeah, they'll race next to Kansas, so it's just Cup and Truck. Correction on the Truck Series, that's the first race of the round of 6. So yeah, that's catching up with the other 3 series. We also have some interesting news to look forward to here. Cover
this. Yeah, they're doing some testing right now, aren't they?
What's that?
They're doing some testing. Is that what we're going to talk about?
Yes. So, yesterday and today, so Tuesday and Wednesday, NASCAR is pretty much, it's a first look at the 2021 car, the next gen, the Gen 7, or whatever you want to call it. The track is hitting Richmond. Basically, so the body of the car is a baseline, and it's not representative of whether it's a Chevy, Ford, or Toyota. Now, Austin Dillon has released a bunch of footage, film and video on his Instagram about this, if you want to take a good look at it. Of course, it's not the locked-in body style, as mentioned before. From Auto Week, quoting Austin Dillon here, all the manufacturers are working on a separate body style. This is what we're testing, and the test is going well so far. We think there are some really cool things to come from this car in 2021. Can't wait to get work on it. We've had fun. I really like working on it. He says that it's a lot of fun to drive. So, some few notes that I can say about this car. This body is expected to feature even more showroom styling similarity. And I believe Michael just joined us. Michael, you there?
Yep.
Hey,
Michael,
buddy.
jump in.
Yeah, sorry to be late again. But.
No, that's no worries. We're just talking about the Gen 7 car.
Yeah, well, and I would say, Michael, you're kind of like Chase Elliott and Joey Logano. You're just either early out or late to start.
Yeah.
One of the two. So welcome. So go ahead, Alex. Keep going. We're talking about the testing going on right now with the new Gen 7. Well, they're calling it the Gen 7 car. And so go ahead, Alex. Continue your story. Apologize.
Okay.
Alex, jump in as quick as you can.
Oh, you're fine. So some notes. Right now, the car is taking in this is the second day right now of a 2-day test at Richmond. Most technology advanced vehicle in NASCAR history. It will go much further to return to the stock car look. It's supposed to give drivers greater controls, put emphasis back on race strategies, team personnel, and vehicle setup. The car is an evolution of the current high downforce and low horsepower regulations that premiered this year with the Gen 6 car. A new engine formula should debut in 2022 or 2023 with a maximum output of 550 horsepower. The current engine formula maxes at 900, but has been incrementally restricted over the past 5 years through the use of a tapered spacer. Just making a few notes here on Auto Week. The car is being built by the sanctioning body as the most technologically advanced and thus manufacturer-viable vehicle in the history of the discipline. Steve Phelps came out and said we're very excited about where things are with the next-gen car. We are on time for a 2021 rollout. I think it's going to be exciting to get on the track. So just making some notes here, judging by the pictures, the wheels are actually more street style oriented, which kind of amazed me. Like, it's not what you see on a stock car now. It's like something you would see on every day out on the streets.
Okay, and you say that. Are they like? And again, I haven't found a picture of one yet. Of the testing going on yet. I'm kind of reading through who the favorites are at Talladega right now. Are they narrower? Are they going to narrow down the slicks and bring them back in so they're not as wide? Or I know they're going to 18-inch wheels over what they use now as 16-inch wheels, as I believe, right? Correct. So they're going to expand the wheel size, which is going to give you more traction or more tread. You're going to put a bigger wheel. I mean, are they narrowing down the tires? Because I've always said all along in Indy, if you want to slow the cars down in Indy, all you got to do is narrow the tires. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you put 20-inch wide tires on an Indy car, whatever and Michael can attest to this. He drives. He knows what the actual. But if you just narrow the tires down, when A.J. Foyt won in 1967 and Andretti won in 69, I mean, they had narrow tires, and the cars just couldn't handle the speed. And so, is that what NASCAR's trying to do here with the bigger wheels? And are they going to a narrower tire?
It's really hard to say. I haven't seen a whole lot of notes.
Yeah, I'm trying to find pictures right now. I can't find any right now.
Yeah, you can go on Austin Dillon's Instagram. He has a video talking about it. Basically, there's like hood ducts as well, something they tested at the All-Star race this year. Basically just a video showing off like what's underneath the hood and a little look at the side as well. There are a few other pictures as well. Looks like there's still some sort of a side skirts and splitter a little bit. A lot of people say they want those splitters gone. So, we'll have to wait and see.
That or you got to do what Charlotte's done is put AstroTurf in the infield.
Oh, yeah. I still love that idea, by the way.
I think every track. I mean, that's as important to me. And Michael, please chime in. I mean, you're a driver. You do it. I think that the AstroTurf is like the softer barriers. It's like it's a no-brainer. Why would everybody now not start putting AstroTurf down as opposed to grass? Because as soon as you dive into that grass, you're tearing something up. And that AstroTurf. You what?
Sorry, go ahead. Finish your question.
No, you're tearing something up. And when you get on that, when I watched the All-Star race of Charlotte, and they were sliding through the infield on the AstroTurf, it's like the cars just slid through it cleanly and got out and got right back on the track with no damage to the cars. So you want to save money, stop the impound racing, put the AstroTurf down.
I mean, that's what I would say, but, the idea is that when the cars are hitting the grass, it's the team that's paying for it. If you talk about the AstroTurf, that's the track paying for it. So I'm sure a lot of tracks just are kind of reluctant to spend that kind of money on replacing the grass, which I don't think that's a good thing, just because that's going to drive teams away if they continue to tear stuff up. It's just kind of how I look at it. I do like the AstroTurf. I would honestly love to see that at every track. I just don't see that happening in the near future.
Yeah.
But again, Alex, you said NASCAR. We talked earlier in the show. NASCAR bought back ISC, right? They own ISC now.
Starting on October 18th, the deal will be finalized and everything, and that is when ISC will now be ran by NASCAR. Which, if that means something, it means a lot. That means NASCAR can adjust and alter with the schedules a bit more for future seasons beginning in 2020.
Well, and do they own the tracks, or they just own the schedule?
Oh, I believe they will own those tracks as well.
Right. So turf them. I mean, Charlotte, that was a brilliant move. That's the greatest innovation I've seen since Tony George's softer barriers, which he did at Indy before anybody else ever did it. He put the softer barriers in at Indy, and then everybody followed suit, and now every track has softer barriers. Not as efficiently as Indy does it, but they have softer barriers. And now this AstroTurf thing that Charlotte did is monumental. I mean, you talk about not tearing up equipment. It's a brilliant move on their part. Cars slide through it. They get through it. You don't tear up the splitters. You don't tear up the car that much. Cars slide through it. It's carpet, basically. You can replace it easier than you can probably resod it. In wet weather, it's easier to do in wet weather. I mean, I don't see any negative at all, Michael. Is there any negative to having the AstroTurf? I use AstroTurf as a general term. I'm that old. I remember the Astrodome. You guys probably aren't old enough to remember the Astrodome.
The wonder of the world, right?
Yeah, the eighth wonder of the world. Yeah, the Astrodome. Yeah. But I just don't see any reason why every track now does not go to that has an opportunity to slide through some kind of grass to the track and not tear the car to pieces just because you get tagged or bumped or you spin out or slide, and then your car is absolutely destroyed just because you dug into some grass and some dirt and tore the car up. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any downside to it. Like I said, it's just going to be matter of the track's willing to spend that money for the startup cost of doing that. It's going to be the main obstacle in getting it installed at every track.
Well, it sounds like now it's up to NASCAR now because, I mean, if they bought ISC, I mean, they pretty much own most of the tracks, don't they, Alex?
What's that?
I mean, they bought International Speedway Corporation, so they pretty much own most of NASCAR owns the France family owns most of the tracks now, correct?
Yes. Those tracks are quickly Auto Club, Chicagoland, Darlington, Daytona, Homestead, Kansas, Martinsville, Michigan, Phoenix, Richmond, Talladega, and Watkins Glen. Those are all the tracks in NASCAR.
Those are the new tracks they own, not the ones they originally owned.
Yeah, former tracks they owned. They used to own Rockingham, Pikes Peak, Nazareth, and Tucson Raceway Park are tracks they used to own.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm just pissed off because Chase Elliott finished dead ass last, so I'm not in a good mood.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's a really tough start to the second round, especially after coming off the win at the Roval. But again, he's got 2 races. He won at Talladega back in the spring.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine. I mean,
he's got 3 good tracks ahead of him. I think he'll.
Yeah, he's won at all 3 of these tracks. He's won at Talladega earlier in the year. He's won at Kansas. He's actually won at Dover last year. So he's won it. I mean, it's again. And Michael, before you came on, we were talking about the whole concept of impound racing. I don't get that concept in the playoff situation where you wouldn't let these guys go back in and tear their cars apart and work on them. Do you have any insight into that? And I know you're going to tell me it's a money thing, but the guys who are competing aren't worried about money. They're worried about winning. They will spend every penny they can to win, whatever they can do, and go from there. But what's your insight into the impound racing situation? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
If you were to ask me, I would personally say I like it just because, the way I see it, the car you qualify really should be the car you race. Like, it should be the exact same. And that's just in my opinion. So personally, I like it. Now say if something does go terribly wrong in qualifying and you need to fix it, then I agree, you should be able to do that. But, I do think it's right to send them to the rear for the start, considering so much has changed now since qualifying. So really when it comes to the impound thing, I do kind of have a favorable opinion on that.
All right. Well, let me ask you this then. Here's my $10 question for you. Why do you qualify one way when you're not going to race that way? We went back to single car qualifying. We were qualifying in heat qualifying, which was what F1 does. You get your stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and now you're forcing teams to set up a car either in a qualifying stage or a race stage. Why not just go back to saying, okay, if we're going to impound on an impound race, we're going to qualify in race stage. So how you set your car up for the race, if we're going to impound your car, is how we're going to get this qualifying done. So everybody's on the track, find your hole, find your loop, get your clean air, get your car out in front, pick your time. So, I mean, I watch F1 every morning. Out here it's like at 3 in the morning in Los Angeles. It's like 6 in the morning for you guys. But, I mean, I'm always up watching them. And, those guys will sit there until the last minute and say, nope, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for everybody to get by me. I'm getting clean air, and I'm going to run. And everybody's on the track. Why do they not go back to that then if you're going to impound? On an impound race, you should have, I believe, and I'm an idiot. I believe you should just say, if you're going to have an impound race, just do group qualifying. Let them on the track and let them go. Qualify and race trim. Because now teams have to make a choice. between if they want to set up like we saw, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, where the Stewart-Haas cars were 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I think one car finished in the top 10, the rest of them just bailed out because they were so ill prepared to race. It was ridiculous. So why don't we just go back and say, if we're going to do an impound, let's just run it in race trim, run qualifying in race trim, run everything in race trim, then impound the cars and say, that's it. Why don't we do that, Michael?
I mean, I've just always kind of been a fan of the single car runs for qualifying.
I hate it.
I mean, that may just be coming from me since I grew up watching that. And I think it's good for the smaller teams because that's given each car exposure on television, so it's televised. Honestly, what I would say is just keep the cars in race trim for qualifying, just so that way, going into the race, you're going to have the car set up for what it needs to do during that race.
Yeah, well, and some teams do that. I mean, some teams just say, we're going to qualify in race trim. We don't care if we start. And then you get into the situation of pit selection, and that on a track like Dover, that becomes fairly important. Now, Talladega, it's not that big a deal. I mean, I don't care. It doesn't really matter where you pit in Talladega. You've got to get back in the pack, and you're going to be bunched in with every other idiot out there driving 220 miles an hour, banging and bumping it, on a multi-bank track. It's a little different situation there. But, after that, you're heading to Kansas City, another mile-and-a-half track where pit selection becomes important again. So I don't understand the concept of making teams decide that and just not saying, everybody just go into race trim, set your cars up for the race, and we'll do group qualifying like we've been doing. Well, I thought the group qualifying was good. I enjoyed that much more than I enjoy sitting there. And I DVR every NASCAR moment I can on NBCSN and watch it all. And I'm like, okay, this is one lap car. There's one car coming off, one car qualifying, one car coming on. It's boring as hell. It's like, just put them all out there and let them go run. Let them run and see who can run in traffic, who can get clean air, who can do well, and get yourself in race trim and go qualify. I don't see that. Alex, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, like I said earlier with impound qualifying, I can understand if it was like qualifying race on the same day, which that's something I kind of like because it also cuts down on the amount of days that you spend at the track as well. You're not spending so much time there, and I know some fans may think that, but it's just like it's kind of money.
They're there, Alex. They're there.
Yeah,
they're there anyway. What does it matter? I mean, they're all there. The cars are there. They all bring two cars. They all have another hauler sitting in Charlotte that can bring two more cars down if they wreck two cars. They can get them there. I mean, it's not like this is Saturday Night Modified where, you keep the car in your garage on the weekends and it's a jalopy, for lack of a better term, which they're more than jalopies. But it's a phrase. These are skilled, and they have 20 cars sitting in the garage, ready to go. They bring their what they think are their two best down. If they tangle one up on a wall or on a practice, and they bring another one out, then they immediately send another hauler down with two more cars.
Correct.
And that's coming down. I don't understand the concept of impound at this level of racing. And again, my fight is because Elliott finished dead ass last.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't care if it wasn't Elliott as much as I care if it wasn't. But Logano goes out on the pace lap, like Roberto Guerrero, who wrecked his car in the Indy 500, I think in 1995, 6 or 7, 87. I don't know when it was, when he spun out warming his tires up and ran into the wall. And I've actually got a picture of it, and it's hilarious. It's not hilarious. I mean, he trashed a great car and trashed a great opportunity. He was on the pole, and he wrecked his car warming it up on the pole.
Yeah.
So I don't understand the concept of impound racing at this level. I mean, you either have the money to play this game or you don't have the money to play this game. The fields are already down to 30, 35, 30. I mean, F1 only starts 20 cars a race. That's all they do. There are 20 cars a race to start F1.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Then they're done. And that's it. We understand it's an expensive sport. I think that NASCAR needs to take a look a little bit at what F1 does and how they do the things and get more into that kind of groove, especially in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But when Elliott has a mechanical failure, have they even found out what his problem was yet? I haven't even read yet. I don't think they still don't know what broke in the engine. Do they know yet? Did that even come out?
I haven't read anything on it just
No,
yet.
I haven't read anything either. Michael, what happened to Elliott's car? Do you know?
I think it was an engine issue.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Well, it was an engine failure. We know it was an engine failure. Yeah, we know that. But, I mean, what was it, a rod, a piston, or what caused the catastrophic event? Because there was oil all over the track from his wreck.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not 100% certain. All I know is Chase Elliott just came out and said it just blew up.
Yeah, it's like what was the movie Stripes? Where's your drill sergeant? He got blown up, sir. Sergeant Holcomb.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys even know what I'm talking about. You're both younger than me, so you probably don't even remember Stripes.
It's all good.
It's all good. All right. So, any surprises at Dover? I mean, I think the race. I certainly think Kyle Larson was a surprise. I don't think anybody expected him to pull that race out and do that. I mean, that team's got the capabilities, but they've not had the success. Kurt Busch is whacked out in the first round. Kyle Larson had gone. How many races had Kyle Larson gone before he'd won?
75. It's been 2 years.
75 races, yeah. 75 races.
Much needed win for Kyle Larson.
And for Chip Ganassi,
yeah.
Racing. So good for them. I mean, that's a great win. It puts him into the next round. So what are we looking at now in the top 12 now? And everybody pull up the stats and see where the standings are. Let's see where we are here. Pulling up right now. So we have Blaney, Elliott, Boyer, and Logano out of the picture right now. And only really, truly Blaney is, 22 points down. He's going to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Elliott's only 7 points down. Boyer's 4 points down. Logano's tied with Byron at 8 points down. Hendrick talk about Hendrick Motorsports a little bit here. They're doing well in the playoffs. I mean, their cars are consistent. They're not the fastest, they're not the strongest, but they finish races. Unless you Chase Elliott in the 9 car.
Well,
don't go pink. Don't run a pink car. And God bless breast cancer. I understand why they did. I'm being facetious right now. So please don't rip me on that. But, that's like the kiss of death. everybody else seems to be solid now, and now you're getting to the nitty-gritty where you've got to win. Who's in a must-win situation here other than Blaney? Is Elliott now in a must-win situation?
Not yet. If
Not yet.
he gets caught up in a wreck at Talladega, yes. If he gets a good run there, no. I think he's fine. Logano's strong at Talladega as well. Stuart Haas at this race last year completely dominated too. When you look at Boyer, Byron has shown speed on the super speedways. He got the pole, led at Daytona back in February. You talk about Hendrick. Yes, they've been performing very well. Bowman got the third place finish, which pole vaulted him into the top 8. He's had a pretty solid season for the most part. Elliott's had a good season. Byron's shown a lot of improvement. And even he's outside the playoffs. He's out of the playoffs, but Jimmy Johnson, he's even been looking better as of late, too. Like, he's been starting to finish a little bit better, trying to build something for 2020 and perhaps get back into his winning form. Because Johnson wants to keep racing, wants to get back into that winning form. So,
Michael, let me ask you a question. Do you think that Jimmy Johnson will ever win again? I'm not confident. Do you really? I don't think he will.
Yeah, just like Alex said, he's improved a lot over the last few weeks. So if he could just kind of keep that going, I definitely could see him getting back in the winner's circle at some point.
Yeah, certainly. Part of me still wonders if they were able to continue that race at Daytona back in July. There's a good chance Johnson or even Byron would have won that race because they were probably the two of the fastest cars left out there after that big wreck. So, but besides the point, Johnson ran into some bad luck near the end of the regular season. He kept having one mishap after another. A lot of it wasn't really him. But now, he's starting to, get things figured out. And I said after Indianapolis, I said he needs to take the next 10 races and be like, okay, we got to build for 2020 now. And I think that's what's happening here. So, heck, you never know. Johnson could sneak out a win at some point before the season ends. So I think he's going to be someone to watch the rest of the season and go into next year of all the non-playoff drivers.
Okay. I hope so. He obviously with 7 championships and he got 84 wins or something like that. 84. He's like 4th all time on the list, isn't he?
Yeah.
Behind Petty, Gordon, and David Pearson, and then it's Jimmy Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the pecking order. Not so.
Bobby Allison and Darrell Waltrip each have one more win than him.
Yeah.
Okay. So they have one more win than him. So it's Petty, obviously, 200. And Petty's deal is a fallacy in the sense that he won 200 races because they ran 3 times a week when he was racing. They would go to Bowman Gray, they would go to Winston-Salem, and they would take their cars and put them on the back of a trailer and go and run 3 races a week. And there were so many more races being run in NASCAR at that point in time than there are now. Then you got David Pearson, the Silver Fox, who is probably actually the best NASCAR driver of all time, is what I would say. And he would never even really contend. He only contended for championships the years he won. Other than that, he said, "I'm not racing a full season." And this is a guy that had a cigarette lighter put on the dashboard of his car, so he could smoke while he was driving. Imagine that today. And I think then it's Jeff Gordon, and then Jeff Gordon number 3 all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got, where does Earnhardt fit into this whole thing? Where is he? Does anybody even know off the top of their head?
He's right behind Cale Yarborough and Jimmy Johnson. Earnhardt's got 76.
Yeah. So Jimmy Johnson's got some catching up to do. But he won, 5 straight championships in a row, I think what it was, wasn't it? Yep. And so good for him. Anything that we saw unusual out of Dover?
I can't really think of anything unusual that occurred besides the chase drivers having all the issues. That's probably the one thing I can think of, with Logano, Elliott, Blaney, and even like all the penalties that occurred. Besides that, I can't really think of anything else that's out of the ordinary.
Oh, it was a good one for me because Larson won. So.
Oh yeah.
It was a bad one for me because Elliott finished dead ass last. But so it happens. You go from first to last. Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you're last. If you ain't first, you're last. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. By the way.
All right, let's take a look at Talladega. What are we getting into here? I mean, is this going to be a melee? Because the points are, we got Truex. It looks now like Truex. Well, Larson's already qualified for the next round, obviously. Truex is at plus 63. Hamlin's at plus 48. Busch is at plus 48. Harvick's at plus 42. Keselowski is at plus 20. Bowman's at plus 17. And then you got Byron and Logano at 0. Tie between 8th and 9th, and I don't know how they break that tie. I don't know. And then Boyer at -4, Elliott at -7, and I think Blaney probably at -22 is probably toast. You get that far behind, but there are 2 races to go. So what are we expecting now? Are we going to see? I mean, Elliott won the earlier race at Talladega. Do we expect the Hendrick cars to run strong again? And Kyle Busch has been real quiet. He hadn't won a race, I think, since June, has he not?
Yeah, it's been a while since Kyle Busch has hold on one second. Check.
And that's a lot of time for him to not win a race. Because I still believe he's probably the best driver in NASCAR right now.
Oh yeah, certainly.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to argue that point to any great degree. And then Kevin Harvick's right behind him in terms of just ability to get on the wheel, as Michael, the phrase you guys use, get up on the wheel.
Yep.
Yeah, get on the wheel. Those 2 guys do it better than anybody. But neither one of them have been very effective here recently. I mean, Busch has got 11 stage wins. Harvey's got 5 stage wins. Elliott's got 5 stage wins. Martin's got. I mean, is this Truex's season again? Is he going to win this thing?
Well, the way the momentum is swinging right now, it's more in Truex's favor for sure. I mean, of all the playoff races so far, I think he's finished inside almost the top 5 in all. He's got 2 wins, and of course,
he's won 2 of them. Yeah, he's won 2 of them, and I don't know where he finished. When Elliott won, where did he finish at the Roval?
Yeah, let me look that up real fast.
Yeah, I don't know where he finished at the Roval. I mean,
He was in 7th.
Okay, so again, top 10 finish, and he comes back and finishes 2nd in this race. So I mean, I'm looking at Truex right now and say, if I got to beat anybody, I got to beat the 19 car.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've got to beat him. So,
I mean, when you look at his stats this year, right now, he's really pretty on track to his 2017 stats. So, which he won the championship. So you certainly do have to think this guy is probably the one we need to focus on. Beating each week.
Yeah, 19's to me is the car to beat right now. Truex has just been more dominant than everyone else.
He's consistent. He's consistently up front every race. I mean, he's always in the hunt. And no matter where he starts, because I don't think he started very well. Where did he start at Dover? Did he start back in? I thought he started back in the pack, didn't he?
Let me see here.
Again, I don't know. I don't have it pulled up. I'm looking at the results, not the. Where did it doesn't matter. I mean, he works his way to the front every time. So he's clearly right now out driving it. What about Hamlin? Does Hamlin have a chance here, or is this another year where Hamlin is the bridesmaid again?
I think Hamlin is there. I think Gibbs has been the team to beat. I think Hamlin's still got a decent shot at the championship, in my opinion. I think right now I can see Truex and Hamlin making the championship four.
Okay. I can see that happening too. Yeah. All right. As I'm looking down through here, manufacturers: Chevy 1, Toyota 2 and 3, 4, Ford 4 and 5, Chevy 7 and 8, Ford 9 and 10, Chevy 11, and Ford 12, 13th, and 14th. Is there a dominant? And this kind of goes back to the testing you were talking about with this new carbon fiber body that they're working on right now with the 18-inch wheels and everything. Is there a dominant body style right now that's showing strength? Because, I wouldn't. I'm not sure that I would have expected a Chevy to win this race. And I wouldn't have expected Kyle Larson to win the race either. But, he was due, but I wouldn't have expected it to happen.
Yeah.
So is there a dominant body style?
It's really hard to say, especially with the current aero package. Last season, I would say, Toyota and Ford were way ahead of Chevrolet. Chevrolet only had, four wins last year. And I'm pretty certain that they have already won more than that this year, because Elliott picked up 3 wins. Bowman got a win. Larson, I think right now they're sitting at 6 or 7 wins, actually.
Hey, you can't forget Justin Haley.
Justin Haley, yeah. Spire Motorsports. Can't forget about Justin Haley. But, Elliott.
Yeah,
Larson,
and you had Kurt Busch.
Yeah, Kurt Busch at Kentucky. That was
Busch won, yeah.
One of my favorite moments this season was that incredible finish between the Busch brothers. That was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so Talladega, what's our expectations? Do we all disagree? It's just like we can't pick anybody to win this race because it's where you are when you are there. Is that true or not? About this
you
race?
Can't go into this race with any expectations.
Right, because you could be sitting in second place or fourth place or sixth place, and bang, the big one happens. And they got Michael. I think it's Michael Rooker. Is that his name? The guy that played Rowdy Burns in Days of Thunder. Commercials. That's this guy played Rowdy Burns. Was that his name? When Cool Trickle drove his car for him. And I think that's his name. Rowdy Burns was his name in the movie. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't watched the movie for a month, but I'll watch it again probably tomorrow night. It's just a fun movie to watch. But it's like it doesn't matter. It's not when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen. It's when it's going to happen. And there's going to be a big one, and it's so much about positioning. So how important is qualifying at Talladega to get yourself out front early and get out of the melee as quick as you can possibly get out of it, Alex?
Yeah, I'd say the best spot to be is probably leading or maybe second. But then again, if you remember, the Coke 0400, before that huge wreck, Austin Dillon was leading. He applied that huge block. The entire field was taken out. So, really, when it comes to Daytona and Talladega, it doesn't matter where you start. It's where you finish. Simple as that. So you can afford, in my opinion, to qualify 34th. Now, of course, it's really hard to do an old strategy where you can, okay, I'm going to lay low, stay in the back, and then, in the closing laps, I'm going to work my way up. You can't really do that much because of stage racing, because you need those stage points. Some people may actually apply that strategy depending on what situation they're in. But, as I said, sure, the best spot may be leading, but, again, you saw what happened with the Coke 0400. No one's safe. It's all about if you're there in the final 10 laps, because this has the potential of 11 cars finishing this race, because it's a playoff race. A lot of playoff drivers had issues last week at Dover. It's going to be a very intense Talladega race, and I think it's especially how this aero package ran at Talladega back in April. Oh man, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this goes down.
And they're running the 550 package here, right? They're running the 550 horsepower.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're running that aero package. Yep.
They're running the 550 aero package, so they're going to slow the horsepower down and try to slow them down. So, Michael, you've got Blaney, Elliott, and Boyer and Logano, who basically need to either win or finish high. Way up, in the top 2 or 3. Do they wreak havoc on the field as they push themselves through? Because they're not going to sit back there and just say, I can't take a 12th place finish here in this race. What's the strategy? As you as a driver, if you're in that position, what do these guys think about? Is like win or go home, or keep my car safe? Because this is, like I said, it's an unknown quantity on this race, because the wreck will happen. It will come. It will come. And we all sit there with bated breath all Sunday and wait for this thing to happen, the big wreck. And it's going to come. So these guys charge, or do they play it safe? As you as a driver, what would you do?
Well, you got to think of this. To finish high, you actually, just a quote from Days of Thunder, first thing you got to do to win the race is finish the race. So you certainly need to at least be somewhat cautious around other drivers. Now, just kind of going back into what we were talking about earlier, that to avoid the accident, I would say you need to be at the front. I know I see a lot of guys kind of ride back and just let stuff happen, but personally, I think I would rather be in front, just because when it does happen, hopefully it's happening behind you instead of in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, but, you definitely do need to throw caution to the wind at least, because, if you do get wrecked, that's it. And you're pretty much in a must-win situation going to Kansas. And there's going to be a few drivers going there anyway, because I guarantee you not every playoff driver is going to be finishing this race. Just the nature of Talladega. The only driver who is able to go into this race, breathe easy, is Larson, because he's got that win.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd say is just play it smart, understand who you're driving around, and just focus on running your own race, and just try to be up front as much as you can. At least that's kind of the way I would see it.
Yeah.
I do iRacing. Whenever we go to one of these tracks, that's usually the strategy I go with. And when I do that, it usually ends with me finishing higher up or even winning.
Yeah, I just think if you're Blaney, Elliott, Boyer, and Logano, you want to get your ass in the front. You want to qualify well. Is this race an impound race, Alex, or not?
I don't
know. I don't know the answer to that question.
I think it is.
So,
because usually they do.
I'm not in favor of the impound racing crap. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, just because usually they do impound racing when there's no on-track activity scheduled between qualifying or the race. I believe Cup qualifying comes right after the Truck Series race on Saturday, so there's going to be no on-track after that. So that kind of tells me this is going to be an impound race.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, that's the theory at hand. So great. I think Harvick's the sneaky snark. I think he's just kind of lurking back there. I'd be very, very wary of Kevin Harvick. He's got a good car. He's got a good team behind him, things like that. I think you're going to see these 9, 10, 11, and 12 car teams really go knock it out and get after it and try and get up front in this race. And you're going to see the big one. It's going to happen, unfortunately. Anything else, gentlemen, that we need to cover? Alex, anything else you wanted to cover that we didn't cover?
Let's see here. Hey, Michael, I saw you make a tweet. You were announcing something about running.
Yeah, what's going on with you? Yeah. We're going to give Michael his time to give him airtime and see what he's doing. So, go ahead, Michael. What's going on with you?
Okay, so I will be running the USAC Midget Jason Leffler Memorial next week with sponsorship from fellow YouTuber Slap Shoes.
Yeah, Slap Shoes. That's awesome.
And as part of this deal, he will also be an associate sponsor for Eric Cadell at Kansas Speedway, which is the team I will be working for there. So just giving him some advertising in ARCA and in the USAC community. So hopefully it's helping out a lot.
Just because I don't, Slap Shoes is what? I wear a size 16, so I get New Balance. That's the only shoe company that I can go online and buy size 16 sneakers in is New Balance. Nike doesn't make size. Nike is this great company that says they're all about athletes. I can't get a pair of size 16 Nike shoes. I can't get a pair. It's going to
be a little difficult, I think, getting a pair of shoes from Slap Shoes because he doesn't sell them. That's his YouTuber username.
He's a NASCAR YouTuber where he recently did this whole trilogy on a track that used to be in this area that NASCAR ran at one time called Airbase Speedway. Go on YouTube and check it out. It's a really interesting set of videos of him discussing that. And he even recently came out with why it was a bad idea how NASCAR left North Wilkesboro and how we could somehow bring it back.
Yeah, and actually, hold on a second, I need to expand on that because just the other day, I got in contact with Save the Speedway over that, and we are also going to be throwing them on the car with Slap Shoes' blessing. So it's going to be the Slap Shoes and Save the Speedway Midget. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That's great to hear.
Can you win?
Yeah. Huh?
Can you win?
Absolutely. I'm going to be going for it.
Can we auction your trophy off if you win?
Absolutely not. It's honestly probably the coolest trophy in USAC Midget. It's going right up on my mantle.
Yeah.
There you go.
Big #1 plaque with a huge Jason Leffler diecast on it. I'm keeping that.
Oh, yeah.
The funny thing is that the most important trophy I own in my life, aside from my national championship ring, which we won in Indiana in 1981, is my we finished 6th in the AAU tournament for our age group 13 and under in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, and I still have that damn trophy, and it is the most beautiful trophy I've ever seen in my life. And it's still proudly displayed in my house. And we didn't even win. We finished 6th and got this huge, beautiful trophy. And I just said, no, I'm keeping it. I didn't even let my team have it or carry it around. No, this is mine. I coach this team. I'm keeping it. So I feel your pain. So what else is going on, Michael, with you? What do we need to do to help you find sponsors and do things like that and to get people understand what you're doing and committed to?
Okay, so right now we're looking at building some relationships for the 2020 season. I'm looking into running several ARCA events, and I would low-key love to run the truck race at Kentucky and Eldora if we can somehow work that out. So what I'd like to do is try to get 5 ARCA starts in earlier on in the season, and hopefully then we can start looking at running those truck series events. And I certainly want to keep running the midget too. I mean, I have an absolute blast running that. and I consider the whole USAC group family. So it's hopefully going to be a busy year next season.
Do they still run the Hoosier 100?
No, they stopped doing that this year.
Did they stop the Hoosier 100 at the State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis? That was a great race. I mean,
they're demolishing the track, from what I understand.
Oh, are they really? That's too bad. I mean, we moved out of Indianapolis 3 years ago to come out here because my son wanted to make Star Wars movies. Idiot that he is.
Hey,
Jedi.
Hey.
He's a Jedi.
That is awesome.
Oh no, he was working with George Lucas 2 days ago. It's like, oh my God, yeah. His email address is lucasarts.com, something lucasarts.com. So, I mean, he's sitting there. He's got. It's amazing. He has Spielberg, Lucas, and Cameron, James Cameron, sitting there, all looking. And he's in the room. I mean, he's not having discussions with them. He's not at that level, but they're all in the room there, and he's in the room with them. And they're all looking at the technology they're using to make the new Star Wars movies because it's Disney, and Disney owns the world. I mean, it's not long before Disney owns NASCAR.
The mouse rules us all.
The mouse rules all. Exactly, and that's what's going to happen. But what a privilege for him to get to go do that. And he's actually had
I tell you what, if you want to see if he can somehow find sponsorship from Star Wars, tell you what, we'll form a truck series team. We'll put me and Robbie Lyons, who's a friend of mine, who's also a huge Star Wars fan, and we'll just have a whole Star Wars themed racing team.
Heck yeah.
May the force be with you. Yeah. Unfortunately, I have to sign every day he comes home. I have to sign an NDA, which means I'm not supposed to talk about what he tells me they did on set today because they're filming a new show right now for the new Disney Channel, and The Mandalorian, which has been publicly announced, so it's okay. Favreau has announced it, but it's like you have to sign an NDA, Dad. You can't. I'm getting in trouble right now. If he listens to this show, I'm death. Trust me, I'm killed. But it's a cool thing because you hear how they do these things and how much intricacy they put into these movies. I'm sure it's the same thing with racing and truck racing and Xfinity and in the Cup racing. Where we go from there. Alex, what are we doing with sponsorship next year? Have we heard anything on that at all? Either one of you guys? Because I think they're going to break it down to regional sponsorship next year, aren't they? Or is Monster signed on for another year?
It's gonna. I think next year it's going to be like the NASCAR Cup Series or something like that, and basically, it's going to be like a tiered sponsorship model system, similar to what NCAA Sports does. I know Monster Energy and Coca-Cola are among a few companies that have already been looking at what they can do in this tiered model system. So I think it's me better because I think the issue you've had, this happened under Sprint and this happened under Monster, where like the other telecommunication companies like AT&T and Alltel, they left, because they didn't want, Sprint didn't want them around. And I think that's what happened. That's why 5 Iron Energy left NASCAR, is because of Monster. I remember reading a rumor at one point like, Jimmy Johnson's going to sponsor Red Bull in 2019. I'm like, that's not going to happen. Monster's not going to allow that. But I think now, under this tiered model system, I think it's going to be able to welcome competing brands. Like, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see, like, Coke versus Pepsi and, Monster versus Red Bull or whatever. I think it's going to open up more opportunities for companies to come into NASCAR without being held back because of a certain title sponsor.
So Michael, do we have more? So based on what Alex said, do we have more regional sponsors then? So we go to California, and we say California Auto Club sponsors the West Coast Tour, and they are the Cup sponsor for the West Coast Tour, or is there going to be one primary sponsor for NASCAR? I mean, I still always say it's the Winston Cup. I mean, and that's wild because I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. You know, I don't believe in smoking. It's not my gig. Fine for people that want to do it. I don't care. It's no problem. I don't judge people based on what they do in their lives, but I never have. But I still call the trophy the Winston Cup Trophy. So are we going to go to more regional sponsorships then and have maybe 3 or 4 segments, Michael, where we say you win this cup here, you win this cup there, you win that cup there, you win this cup there. And then we have the NASCAR Cup, which is the big cup at the end of the year. And that's what you go to, I don't know. I don't even know where they're going to do it next year. I don't think it's in Vegas anymore, is it?
No, it's moving to Nashville this year.
Nashville, yeah. Why not have it in Daytona? Why would you not have the event in Daytona Beach? Seriously.
I can't answer that. I really don't know. Yeah. But getting into your earlier discussion about the regional sponsorships, I think that would be a cool thing for NASCAR to do. And also, if you're talking like the West Coast Championship or something like that, I also think that would be a really cool idea. That's almost kind of like what ARCA has going. You know, they have the short track championships. They've got the Bill France 4 Crown. I just think it would be awesome if NASCAR did something like that.
Yeah, well, didn't K&N Racing? What were the leagues that just merged together?
K&N, ARCA Menards, and K&N.
Yeah, they've all merged together to form one league. It seems to me it would make more sense to regionalize your sponsorship because I mean nobody wants to throw $40 million anymore into NASCAR. I mean, that's another discussion we could have next week is how many empty seats there are in the stands when you're watching a race. You know, I mean, television coverage has gotten so good that most people just sit home and watch it on TV. I mean, I live 20 miles from Auto Club Speedway, and I'm like, I'm not going to go there. Just going to watch a damn race on TV. They get better coverage and things like that. And I don't have to pay for parking. I don't have to pay for a camper. I don't have to pay for, stale popcorn, things like that. But anyway, all right. We're wasting time now. Anything else we need to talk about today? Michael, what do you got coming up this weekend? Where can we find you? Are you on TV this weekend?
No, this weekend I am going to be watching TV. That's really all I got planned. I was at Indy this past weekend for ARCA. I'm going to be running USAC next week and then going to Kansas right after. So I'm taking this week just to kind of chill and watch some racing.
All right.
The Colts are off this weekend, so I will be watching nothing but NASCAR.
I know the Bengals are going to be 0-6, so I'll be watching NASCAR.
You mean the Bungles?
The Queen City Kitties.
They're not the Bengals. They're the Bungles.
Yeah, exactly.
Bless their hearts. I mean, it's sad because Andy Dalton is a great quarterback for that football team.
Good.
I mean, he's very good. I mean, he's just on a crappy team. I mean, that's unfortunate. I would love to see Andy Dalton on a good football team and see what he can do with it and go from there. And, my Colts had a great Sunday night showing. Michael, who's your football team?
Of course,
if you say the Cowboys,
always kind of pulled for the Bengals just because it's kind of what my dad did. But growing up, I was also a huge Colts fan, and I do like the Panthers, of course. Indianapolis just because they're the closest to a hometown team I can get now that's actually good. And, of course, the Panthers because, that's Race City, USA.
Yeah, I used to like the Rams until they moved to L.A. because they are in St. Louis. And,
the Rams, what's funny about, and I live in Los Angeles, so what's funny out here is that they don't get a lot of play out here. It's really funny. I mean, it's all Dodgers right now, obviously. The big game's coming up in about 3 hours. Game 5 of the series for the Dodgers. But the Rams don't get enough play. I was in a room with Jared Goff one time. I didn't meet him, but I was in a room with him, so I got that going for me. There you go. But they don't get a lot of play out here. Football's not really – the problem is in L.A. there's too much other crap to do every day of your life. It's always 80 degrees and sunny out here. They're actually – in L.A. right now, what they're actually doing right now, believe it or not, they're warning people they're going to cut your power off. Yeah. They're actually going to shut down power to your house because they don't want – because we have Santa Ana winds coming the next 2 days, which means 40 to 70 mile an hour sustained winds, and they don't want the power lines going down and sparking forest fires. So they're just telling you right now, your power's going down. And we haven't been hit yet, but I know my wife works in Thousand Oaks, and she just got a yellow tag warning for her business that she runs out there. You're probably going to be shut down here in the next 24 hours, which means they have no power, cannot do their work or anything like that. So if it ain't one thing, it's another. All right, let's predict winners. What do we got for Talladega? Who do we got?
What, are you kidding?
Michael, who do you got? Michael, who do you got?
Oh, I mean, how can you pick this? It's Talladega.
No, you got to pick somebody.
Okay, Blake Jones. Let's go with him.
Who?
Blake Jones, running the 77. Spire won Daytona. They're gonna win. They're gonna win Talladega.
That's probably the guy that's gonna win.
We'll see here.
Wait, no, Austin Terrio. Let's go with him.
Oh yeah, Austin Terrio. He's in the
gonna bring home Rick Ware Racing's first win.
Okay.
Yeah, Boyd's going to push him. Rick Ware Racing 1-2.
Let's go.
All right. I'll go next. So, and we'll save the genius Alex for last because he is the man, the myth, and the legend of NASCAR. I'm going to go with Elliott to win again. He's going to double it up, and I got Logano. I think both drivers are going to be racing for their lives. And they're going to be very aggressive, and I think they're going to move out front as fast as they can and get up front. And I think it'll be a duel between those two. And that's assuming they don't get caught up in the big wreck.
Mm-hmm.
I know. It's like it's improbable to even pick, but let's have fun with it and do it. I'm going with Elliott to win. Logano is the dark horse to win. One of those two drivers, I think, is going to. And I love Logano. I think Logano's great at these tracks. He runs super speedways as good as anybody there is. And Elliott knows how to win on these tracks too. Alex, what do you got?
I'm going to go with one of my picks, Logano, because, again, he's in a tough situation, and he knows how to run at Talladega. So,
yeah, exactly.
My dark horse is William Byron, and I'm going to do the what the heck am I thinking pick, Ty Dillon, because he's ran decently in the super speedways. He's won a stage at Talladega. I think he got a top 10 at Daytona back in July.
Wow, so, I like that. Okay, I've got to make a. Okay, Michael, we got to make a what the hell am I thinking pick too. Michael, what is your what the hell am I thinking pick? That's a great call, Alex. Great job.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think I kind of already did that. Rick Ware Racing 1-2. Let's go in a little deeper.
I would love that.
Here. Okay, Landon Castle. How about that?
There we go.
All right. I'm going to go with what the hell am I thinking? I'm going to go with Jimmy Johnson.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think he's running strong. I think he's got good equipment. I think Hendrick runs super speedways as good as anybody. And so my what the hell am I thinking pick is going to be Jimmy Johnson. I don't be surprised if you don't see him up front all weekend long. I think he can get it done. But I think for Elliott and Logano, it's an important win for one of those two, or both of them actually, or get points back in and get in the top 8 and go from there. So who do you guys see as, when I'm looking at the stats right now, Logano, Boyer, Elliott, and Blaney are out right now. Who makes the top 8? I'm just we're speculating right now. We're guessing. So what do you think? I mean, obviously Larson's moved on. Truex is not going anywhere. Hamlin's fine. Busch is fine. Harvick's fine. Then you get down to Keselowski's only 20 points up. He could be in. He's in the soup. Bowman's only 17 points up. Byron is equal to Logano at 9. And then you got Boyer at -4 and Elliott at -7. Blaney is probably at -22. He's probably out. Who makes the top 8? And your guys just have fun with it. We're speculating. That's all we're doing.
Let's see here. I'm going to go with Truex, Hamlin, Larson, Kyle Busch, Harvick, Keselowski, Elliott,
and Logano.
Logano or Bowman. This is one of those two.
Yeah.
To get that next spot. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And Michael, I'll let you go last because you're the driver. I'm going to go with Larson. Obviously, he's in, so he's already passed. That's a no-brainer. Truex is in. Hamlin's in. Busch is in. Harvick's in. I think Keselowski has a bad weekend.
Yeah.
I just somehow have this feeling he has a bad weekend, and he's only 20 points up. I like Bowman. Bowman's driving steady. I think Elliott will find his way back up into the top 8. I think he'll figure it out. And I'm not going to bet on Joey Logano. I said I'm not to not win this race. I mean, I think he's that good of a driver. So there you go. We get down. Michael, what do you got?
Okay, I'm sorry. What was the question? This again?
How much money do you have in your bank account, and what's your bank account routing number that I can call and tap into it for?
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I have $69.
That was the question. That was the question.
So yeah, I have $69. Last four of my social are 420.
Thank you.
You got twice as much money as I do. Good for you.
All right. Okay, so it was about what playoff drivers we think are going to have.
Who do you think the top 8 are?
Top 8?
This is how much
Talladega?
power I have. Nobody listens to me. You're like my wife.
Okay, so
both of you are like my wife. She doesn't listen to me either.
I'm sorry, did you say
Holy
something?
Cow. Huh? What?
I'm sorry, did you say something?
What? Huh?
Oh man. You got him.
Who are your top 8? Who makes it through to the next round?
Okay, so of course you got Busch, Harvick, Truex. They're pretty safe.
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely see Joey Logano getting himself out of this hole. Larson is in. I could definitely also see Elliott getting himself out of this hole. Bowman's been looking good. So when you get down to the last race, I honestly would think Byron is probably going to squeak in there because he's been really consistent pretty much the entire playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. Alex, get us out of here. We spent too much time on the air.
All right. That'll do it for this week's episode of the NASCAR show here on The Growing Truth. We'll see you guys next week. We'll talk about Talladega and the next elimination race for the playoffs, and maybe we'll hear some more Gen 7 news as well. Thank you guys so much for listening. From Michael Klein Steve Risley, and myself, Alex Gray. We'll see you next time.
All righty, hang on.